New Year's Eve has a way of making people measure their lives. Not just in fireworks and countdowns, but in comparisons. Who earned more, who bought bigger, who climbed higher. I learned that lesson the hard way on the last night of the year, standing in a crowded living room with a paper cup of soda in my hand, while my own son turned me into a punchline. I arrived at my son Arslan's house just before 9. The place was glowing, fairy lights wrapped around the balcony, music thumping softly through expensive speakers, laughter spilling out the open door. Guests were already there, dressed in sharp suits and elegant dresses. The smell of roasted meat and expensive perfume hung in the air. I paused before ringing the bell, straightened my old coat, and adjusted the scarf my late wife had bought me years ago. It's New Year, I told myself. Families forgive on New Year. Arslan opened the door with a wide smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Dad, you made it," he said, glancing briefly at my shoes, then over my shoulder, as if checking whether I had brought something impressive with me. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied. "Happy New Year, Beta." Inside, the house looked nothing like the small apartment where I had raised him. Marble floors, glass tables, a massive television playing a countdown channel. This was his wife Sarah's house. Her father had bought it for them after their wedding. Everyone knew that. Sarah greeted me politely, though her smile felt rehearsed. Her parents were already there, seated proudly on the sofa like royalty. Her father, Mr. Cameron, was holding court, telling the same story for the third time about the new house he had just bought. Another one. 3 floors, modern design, he said loudly. I thought, why not? It's a good investment. People nodded, impressed. I stood near the wall, invisible, sipping my soda. Arslan drifted toward the center of the room, glass of juice in hand. He had always loved attention, even as a child. When he was 10, he once stood on a chair at a family gathering just to recite a poem so everyone would clap. Now at 32, he cleared his throat again. "Everyone," he said, raising his glass. "Before the countdown, I want to say something." The room quieted, music lowered, all eyes turned to him. "I'm grateful," he continued, smiling, "for how far we've all come this year, especially my father-in-law." He gestured toward Mr. Cameron. "The man just bought a brand new house this month. Mashallah." Applause erupted. Mr. Cameron smiled modestly, though his eyes gleamed. Then Arslan laughed. "And then," he said, turning slowly, his gaze landing on me, "there's my dad." A few people chuckled, unsure. "My FIL just bought a house," Arslan said loudly, raising his eyebrows. "So, Dad, what do you have?" Silence. The kind that buzzes in your ears. Every face turned toward me, some curious, some uncomfortable, some amused. I felt heat rush to my face. My hands trembled around the cup. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. What did I have? A small rented room on the outskirts of the city, a pension that barely covered groceries, a lifetime of early mornings, factory shifts, and missed meals so my son could go to a good school. But none of that fit neatly into a sentence. Arslan laughed again, trying to soften the blow. "Relax, Dad, I'm joking," he said. "It's New Year, lighten up." Someone changed the subject. Music rose again. Conversations resumed. But something inside me cracked. I excused myself quietly and stepped onto the balcony. The cold night air hit my face, sharp and honest. Fireworks burst in the distance, painting the sky with colors my wife used to love. I remembered another New Year's Eve, decades ago. Arslan was 6. We had no heater. I wrapped him in my own coat and told him stories until midnight so he wouldn't notice the cold. At 12, when his school demanded a computer, I sold my motorcycle, the only luxury I had ever owned. When his mother fell ill, I worked double shifts and still came home smiling so he wouldn't worry. I had nothing to show for it now, no house to boast about, no applause. Just memories. At midnight, cheers erupted from inside. 10, 9, 8. I stayed on the balcony, counting quietly with the fireworks. When the party ended, I left without saying much. Arslan hugged me quickly at the door. "Don't be upset, Dad," he said. "You know how it is." I nodded, but I didn't sleep that night. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Arslan. "Dad," he said hurriedly, "I need to talk to you." His tone was different, nervous. "What happened?" I asked. "Can you come over?" When I arrived, the house was unusually quiet. Sarah sat on the sofa, eyes red. Arslan paced the room. "What's going on?" I asked. Sarah's father had fallen ill suddenly, heart complications. He survived, but the doctors advised immediate surgery and long-term treatment. The bills were enormous. Arslan ran a hand through his hair. "Dad," he said, avoiding my eyes, "Sarah's father. He invested most of his money in property. It's not liquid. The banks are slow." I waited. "We need help," Arslan finally said, "just temporarily." I looked at him calmly. "How much?" He named a figure that made my chest tighten. "That's a lot," I said softly. "I know," he replied, "but you're my father." That night, I went back to my small room and opened an old metal trunk under the bed. Inside were documents I rarely looked at. One was a property deed. Years ago, when my wife was still alive, we had bought a small plot of land far outside the city. Everyone laughed at us. "Who will ever live there?" they said. After her death, I never touched it, never mentioned it. It was my silent safety net. The next morning, I sold the land. A week later, I handed Arslan the money. He stared at the envelope, shocked. "Dad, where did you get this?" "I had something," I replied simply. The surgery was successful. Sarah's father recovered. Life slowly returned to normal. One evening, Arslan came to my room unannounced. He looked smaller somehow. "Dad," he said quietly, sitting down, "I need to apologize." I didn't speak. At the New Year's party, what I said, his voice broke. I didn't realize I was proud in the wrong way. He looked around my tiny room, the peeling paint, the single chair, the old photographs. "I thought success was what you show," he said, "but you were saving silently all this time." I nodded. "Some people build houses," I said. "Others build people." Tears welled in his eyes. "I was cruel," he whispered. "Please forgive me." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Just remember this next New Year," I said. "When you measure your life, don't ask who owns what. Ask who stood with you when no one was watching." That year, we welcomed the new year together, quietly, honestly. No applause. No comparisons. Just understanding at last.